I'm kid at heart Steve Starobinsky, and I just may have the coolest job in the world. I work in the toy industry, researching trends, going to trade shows, meeting with retailers, suppliers, investors, and anyone else that's related to the business of play. In episode 3, we go to where it all started for me, Los Angeles, California, where my family immigrated to from Kiev, Ukraine, where through the Catholic Big Brother Big Sister program, I met my big bro, Ryan Logan, where I got my first job in the toy industry with Funrise Toys and Arnie Rubin, and where a huge part of the toy industry happens today, through licensing in Hollywood. Arnie Rubin is a toy industry Hall of Famer with 50 plus years of experience, known for co-founding Imperial Toys and later founding Funrise Toys. Arnie has reinvented multiple super categories in the industry, first in vehicles by introducing the Lights and Sounds range of rescue vehicles in the 90s that later became the Tonka licensed vehicles of the last 20 years. Then again with a premium bubble brand called Gazillion that showed consumers would pay for quality even in a seemingly commoditized category. He was my first boss and shaped my core values as a teammate and a leader.
It was always my goal to run a very professional business. And I always felt that if you treat your buyers with respect and if they could trust you, the business would build on that. And I always knew you can't do it by yourself. If you don't have a good team with you, you can't work 24/7. You need people you can trust. And we started out with that philosophy in mind when I started the company.
Imperial's really known for a lot of seasonal bubble business, right?
Right.
Did you fall in love with bubbles? What happened?
Well, I've always thought that bubbles were one of the greatest toys in the industry. You never see a kid who gets bored playing with bubbles, and it's simple and it's easy, and they're amazed by them, watching them float, the colors. So I've always thought it's a great product line in the industry.
You founded Funrise here in Los Angeles.
That's right.
What were some of the advantages and disadvantages of being a company here?
Well, in the early days, Los Angeles was the home of some of the biggest toy distributors in the United States. We had Federal Wholesale and Blatt Distributing and Pensick and Gordon, and up in the Bay Area, American Toys. So being on the West Coast gave us an advantage to sell those big distributors. Also, since we were doing the lion's share of our manufacture overseas, it was an easy trip to Hong Kong or China or Japan from Los Angeles. So those were some of the advantages. And then as time went on, as we know, this is the heart of all the entertainment business and studios. So the relationships there were really important and easier if we were located here on the West Coast.
Footsteps and worked as a receptionist at Funrise at 16. Do you remember when we met and me getting you coffee or doing the?
I do remember. I do remember when Ryan said that he was a Catholic big brother to a nice Jewish kid from the Ukraine.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. You tie it back to Ryan. Can you tell us what Ryan was like when you hired him?
Well, Ryan was a bit green. We'd had some experience working with Ryan when he was with the O'Keefe Company in Minnesota, and we were looking for a national sales coordinator manager at the time. And I believe we put the word out with all of our sales reps if they knew someone who might be right for the job. And Ryan applied, and we flew him out to LA to meet the team, and he seemed like he could do it, and we made a decision quick and brought him on board. And he grew into the job.
Arnie, how did you get into the toy industry?
Well, Steve, there wasn't really a master plan. I got a job while I was in high school. And my first job was at a company called Chemical Sundries, later known as Chemtoy. And in those days, in the late 60s, they sold soap bubbles in glass jars that retailed for a dime. And the job that I got was taking the bus to downtown Los Angeles and unloading boxcars of empty glass jars that came in from Anchor Hocking in Illinois. And that was my first job in the business. I believe in order to be successful in this industry, you really have to get into the mind of a 3-year-old and understand the way they play. There are no parameters. They can take a Tonka truck and fill it with Star Wars characters and think that's really cool. Their imagination runs wild, and you have to understand the way they play with toys for a toy to be really successful. At least that's what worked for us. But when we got into the light and sound business, sometime I guess in the early 90s, and we introduced putting a sound chip and lights into toy vehicles, that's where the company really exploded. And then we were fortunate enough to make a deal with Hasbro and do the Tonka deal, which we kept the license going for over 20 years.
Yeah, let's talk about that a little bit more, because that was a really revolutionary deal in the industry. A competitor licensing a property from another competitor. Can you speak more to that, please?
Well, the reality was Hasbro was very, very preoccupied with the Star Wars license. They'd acquired Tonka, which was such a classic brand, and hadn't spent a lot of time on developing and bringing new product to market. And we were in the vehicle business with our City Force light and sound, and one of our major retailers called us up and said, you know, you ought to talk to Alan Hassenfeld, because they're really not doing a lot with Tonka, and if you took that brand and married them with your product line, we think it would be a home run. And we did, and they agreed, and you know, the rest is history. A 20-year relationship where we did an incredible amount of business with the Tonka brand.
Ryan Logan is my big brother and a toy industry veteran of 30 years. He helped an immigrant kid find his place in LA, a purpose, and even a career. Ryan has been a door opener, role model, friend, and support system in my toughest times. He has been my biggest mentor, and I wanted you to know that.
When I got to Los Angeles, and so many great people were helping me out and just helping me along the way, Arnie being one of them obviously, but all the other people I was working with at Funrise and all the people I had met. After a couple years there, it was definitely time for me to give something back, and that was really just as simple as it is. I've had so many great leaders and great mentors in my life. It was just time for me to try to pass that baton to someone else and try to help someone else. So I think it was probably like late 1995, I called up the Los Angeles Catholic Big Brother Association and inquired about it, the process, and got signed up and started going over there and interviewing, and they have to do background checks. And
What made you pick me?
also intrigued by the fact that you had been waiting for 4 or 5 years. So it was like, okay, this kid's been waiting long enough. Let's try to find a break for him. And Rostislav Starobinsky sounded like somebody who I might want to hang out with someday.
Hey, How did you make it out to LA?
Well, one of the great companies that I worked for was Funrise, as I mentioned, and I had done a lot of business with the little accounts that I had. I got to know the team pretty well. I got to know Arnie Rubin, the president and founder of Funrise, a little bit socially through a few trips to LA. And he sent a fax across, yes, I said fax, in 1993 and said, we're looking for a national sales manager if you know somebody who might be interested. And I don't think he was necessarily fishing from the rep groups. I think he was looking for someone probably from another toy company. And my boss at the time, John O'Keefe, said to me, he goes, so have you called Arnie yet and asked him about the job? And I thought it was funny that my current boss was telling me to go find a new job, essentially. And lucky enough for me, about a day and a half later, Arnie doesn't take very long to make decisions on anything. We worked out a great deal, and I ended up spending the next 15 years of my life working there for him and getting my family started there.
What does Kid at Heart mean to you?
Kid at heart. I mean, I think, you know, everything kind of goes back to Arnie a bit as kind of the consummate role model. You have to enjoy what you do. And if you can build a culture and a company around that kid at heart mentality, being part of the right team, never losing touch with that childhood happiness of just the joy of playing.
I always like to shop on Melrose when in LA. It's a good mix of vintage streetwear, emerging brands with a cool kid following, and artsy flagship stores. Adam Unger is a professional deal maker, a sales and marketing and licensing guru that has done every job in the toy biz as the third generation of Ungers in the industry. Adam has an eye for spotting emerging content that has product potential upside. We've become good friends since being introduced at Dallas Toy Fair a few years back.
I'm Adam Unger. I am a third generation toy lifer, executive, licensing kid, I guess, but now an adult who's grown through the business my whole life, third generation through it. And my company is called Evolution, and it's been around for almost 10 years. We are at the tip of the spear. We're a licensing agency that represents film, TV, and gaming properties and manages all their merchandise licensing and retail development.
As a toy industry lifer, what is your favorite toy? And did it ultimately help you define what Kid at Heart means to you?
Whew, I needed some prep for that one. My favorite toy. I mean, I have to say, as a kid, my favorite toy was like the G.I. Joe, was just the dude with the beard and like the scar. I mean, I've almost become that guy now. As I'm saying this, I'm like, oh my God, I've become that guy. Yeah, just the beard, and he had a scar, and he was super tough, and I could, you know, I wish, because games are so incredible right now. I mean, I can imagine, I try to get mad at my kids to play Fortnite all day long. I'm like, I would have been locked and loaded and just gripping into Fortnite myself as a kid, you know, playing Space Invaders and the garbage that we had. And so G.I. Joe, at least for me, was a way to like create those unique adventures by putting new stuff on him. So I had him in the pool and his goggles and his whole thing, and he's underwater rescue or fighting some shark, or pull him out and have the military side of it. So my vivid memories of pure imagination were either putting on the gear and fighting all the friends in the neighborhood, whether it's Army, Cowboys, Indians, like getting into it, just or swords and just getting after it, or by myself, it was like G.I. Joe and like getting him into his cool stuff and then creating that play pattern. Now, you know, if I was a kid, I'd just be like, boop, put on my Xbox or PlayStation and just dig into an amazing world that you could never create on your own. So, you know, I get it.
What does Kid at Heart mean to you?
I mean, I think there's a lot of us that have been in this business for a long time that are still kids at heart. You have to think like a kid to be able to sell to a kid. You gotta live the life a little bit. I think you're sort of dragging it out of everybody, which is nice. You know, you're trying to pull, you know, what it is that got, you know, all these people into the business, whether they stumbled into it or fell in love with it. You know, it just means that you have to, you know, despite all the pain of trying to like produce a product in China and sell to a buyer who you should be selling to the consumer, but of course you got to get it to the buyer to get it to the consumer. You have to go through all these jumps to get this product done. I think at the end of the day, you still have to have that, like, you know, that inner child that when you put something out and you know it's gonna work, you know this kid's gonna like this, you know you're not, you know, phoning it in and just trying to make a product that's, you know, cheap and gets out there. The core people that are still driving this business on a day-to-day basis definitely still understand what it takes to, what a kid wants and what they're going through in life, and to find something special for them.
Difference. A lot of people, I think, treat new media as almost like a new science, but it's the same thing.
Right.
I like how you just simplify.
I was watching. I don't know. Somebody said something on Twitter that I thought was really funny. It was like a millennial kid that had found what he called physical media. Like, he's like, oh, I found this like DVD, and I was like, oh my God, physical media, is that what my whole world? It's a physical media. I was like, is that a word? Somebody knows? Like, that's what I've grown up with. Is that a record and a cassette and an 8-track and a DVD and a CD? These are called physical media now. Like, we're totally like, we're incredibleness of digital is so exciting. It's so amazing in our world. It's so great that kids can watch whatever they want anytime they want. I mean, the whole thought of like getting up on Saturday morning early and having to go watch my shows because that was the only time they were on. Like, that was it. That was it. If you overslept and you missed your window and there was no Scooby-Doo, you were out. And your whole day is shot. And then you'd have to wait till the late afternoon to, like, maybe catch your Super Friends or whatever. And now the kids get anything they want anytime they want. Anything I bring up to my kids that I think is cool. Oh, you should watch Speed Racer. Like, what's Speed Racer? Boom, there it is. Like, all their episodes, they can watch them all in one shot.
What is it about that retro content, or the content of our...
Oh, it's not even retro, my God. It's like, it's barely 10 years ago, right? But good stuff is good stuff. I mean, and you know, it doesn't matter what... If you're coming into the workforce now and you want to watch The Office, when you're out of the workforce and now you're like, you know, once you get past The Office and you're having kids and you're fighting through that world, there could be another Office called whatever it is, because that's the world you're in. But if you're coming into the business world now, The Office is it. If you're and Friends, that's your demographic, that's your age group. They're in there fighting, they're dating, they're going through it. Whether it's The Office or Friends, it's like it's you're coming into it. And I think the toy business does the same sort of thing. They try to play on that, which is these play patterns are never going away. Fun for us is going to be fun for them. It's going to be fun for the next generation, and try to hit those, you know, segments when kids are growing up and hitting. And, you know, I think what happens in today's world is what's going on is that the hottest brands aren't necessarily licensed in our toy business right now. You know, you're thinking of LOL and Shopkins, and some of these brands are dominating the toy industry, and they're top 10 in every item. And you're looking at this stuff, some of the things that Moose is doing, and you look at these brands, the toy brands, they're the ones that are leading the charge right now. They're the ones that kids want, and they do not have licenses on them. And so I think all the toy companies are looking to build their own brand in that regard. If you're not, you know, you really shouldn't be in the business. I mean, if you're not thinking about that right now, if not every toy executive is not thinking about, you know, I need to get something that I can call my own and build a brand, and then I can go out and do licensing on my brand, which is obviously going to help tell this massive story. It's a big risk, you know. You've got content, and you basically got to build the user acquisition strategy, which is, you know, sort of a buzzword in digital, but in our world, it's the same thing. You've got to bring eyeballs to your own brand versus, you know, waiting for Disney to do it for you.
Craig Sims is with one of the largest toy companies in the world, Spin Master. But Craig and I became friends when we worked on the Young Professionals Network launch event at Toy Fair Dallas.
My name's Craig Sims, and I'm the Vice President of Business Development at Spin Master.
You built your career around licensing in a big way there, right?
I did. I've been in licensing for 16 years. It's good.
And can you tell us what Spin Master is known for?
Spin Master is known for innovation. We are known for creating great product. We're known for having a lot of fun. And we're really known for really creating category-busting ideas that I feel move the toy industry forward.
What are some of the properties that people would know for Spin Master?
You know, recently Hatchimals has been a really big idea that really converted. We have Paw Patrol, which has been amazing, and that's been a combination of a few different things, including media, including real storytelling. We're known for air hogs. We are known for games. We are known for licensing. We've just done a great deal with Monster Jam. We've done a great deal with DC. We have a great relationship with the guys at Universal Studios. We just had a great year with How to Train Your Dragon. And there's so many other things. We're known for kids gaming. We acquired Toca Boca, which is a great studio out in Stockholm. So there's a lot of good stuff.
Inspired a Toronto Canadian-based company to open up an office in LA. What strategic advantage did this city provide a toy company from Canada?
I think a lot of opportunity. I think both from the studios, but also from the talent. There's so many great toy companies here. Mattel's been here since its inception, and I think they've really anchored LA and made Los Angeles an incredible place for talent to come. Everybody wants to move to Los Angeles because it's It's a great place. The weather's great. You know, we have beaches, we have mountains. There's a lot of diversity. There's a lot of culture. So it's a much easier sell for people to come to LA. And we have a great office here now. We have 150 people. So I think it's that combination, together with the fact that Mattel set a trend for buyers to come to Los Angeles because they had their showroom here. So I think a lot of us have benefited from that, and also open showrooms in LA, which allows for a better flow of, you know, presenting product, trying to sell product, and just moving the industry forward.
You have a pretty cool accent. Where are you from? What's your story? How did you get into the toy industry?
So I'm from Johannesburg, South Africa, sunny South Africa, and I got into the business when I joined Spin Master. I was living in London. I moved to Toronto. Had the good fortune of joining at a really great time back in 2003, which is when we launched Mighty Beans in the US. And then soon after that, we launched Bakugan about a few years later. So it was super interesting. I was in Toronto, and then we opened up an office in Los Angeles, and I moved here about 12 years ago.
Give us a quick licensing 101.
Yeah. Licensing is a great business. It's a great business model. It's essentially the opportunity to partner with an IP owner, and you kind of rent that brand equity, and you're able to offer it to an established fan base. It's also great because it allows for a lot of collaboration, you know, between companies, where you have great talent on the one side, on the licensor side, and then on the licensee side. And that's an art as well, as to how to integrate and to really work together with licensors. And it's the opportunity to essentially lock up certain rights, or to be granted certain rights. And then you're able to manufacture their product under license. The licensor still is involved, they have approvals. And for that, you get to pay them a royalty. And you get to really benefit from all the investment that they're making into their content, be it a TV show, a movie, app, a game. There's so many different things that you can license. So you can license TV show, movie, both of them, a book, you could license a design. So it's a massive industry, and it's a very creative industry, licensing. But, you know, then it comes out to how do you follow up? And, you know, that's the interesting thing about owning brands and, you know, nurturing brands. And that's where Disney's done such an unbelievable job at continuing the storytelling, expanding the universe, and bringing new fans into the franchise. It's a big responsibility because you have so many fans now that are waiting for the sequel. But when the sequel's done right, it's a beautiful thing. When it's not done right, it's not a beautiful thing. Right.
Can you talk about how Paw Patrol came to be and ultimately kind of took over the preschool aisle?
Yeah, for sure. And listen, there's a lot of people that know more about, you know, Paw Patrol than I do. But, you know, from our knowledge, it really came about with a real desire. We didn't know it was going to work, but we had this desire to really create something that was magical, not just on the toy side, but on the storytelling side. And that's one of the things that I and everybody at the company is really proud of, that this is a great show, first and foremost. It's got great values, there's great story arcs, and people can watch it over and over again. And the song is really good. So, you know, even my buddies in South Africa, they're singing the song to me. But listen, it's a very difficult thing to do. We don't profess to hold some magic formula, but we really wanted to create content that would really help us sell merchandise. So as I
My mom, Yelena, immigrated to the U.S. in 1991 as a Jewish refugee during the collapse of the Soviet Union. Without language or resources and a 7-year-old me in tow, she came to LA for a better life for us. She cleaned houses, learned English, went to nursing school, and ultimately answered her calling in life: to help people. She has an incredible work ethic and an even bigger heart. She often leaves home before sunrise to take care of her patients all over the city. And although I may not have always been the best son, she loves me more than anything in this life. What were my favorite toys when I was growing up? Did I have anything that I just gravitated towards?
That will be the fun. I will show you. the most popular toys what you have. But that was different one.
Okay.
Different one. But I will show you how you did.
Okay.
Be careful. That was like that. He picked up but that was red one.
Yeah.
With the white spot everywhere. Горошки.
Yeah, spots.
Okay, and he said any places and do it like that. That was hours and hours and hours. Or I gave him the old phone that was red too, and he did the same. That was favorite toy. I always think that because I have to work and go to school and make money and learn English and that, I don't have time to spend enough for you. I don't have enough time to spend with you. That's why, and I can't introduce you to the culture of this country, to the games, to the sports, to many things what I never know. Okay? I know only hockey game we talked yesterday. And I am thinking about around the month. And I try to call. That's two Big Brother organization was. One was Jewish one was Catholic one. But when I never think about it, I call first to the Jewish one, but they don't have enough time for me and don't have enough appointments. And I call to the second number, but she doesn't understand any words. She make appointments somehow, I don't even know how. After 1 week, somebody called in the house and he told me I am the supervisor from the Big Brother organization. We fill out the application and I signed it. And I did not ask him what's going to be next. And the phone ring and I pick up. I think that's somebody else from because usually my mother pick up the phone and tell her hello. If that's English language, she did it like that.
Yeah.
But as I was home and I pick up the phone and I listen the bus, the voices, and he tell me, "Hi Yelena, I'm Ryan, and I'm from Big Brother. Can we meet each other? Can we talk?" Half I do understand, half I not, but I get that. I'm definitely get that he will come. When he come, the life is changed for me too. And until now, in the back of my heart, somewhere there, I always remember about him. And I cannot even tell how many thanks and how I appreciate to him. I don't know, I don't have enough English to explain to you what I felt, what I feel, because that was the most important person in my life, because he did whatever I cannot do it, whatever I cannot be ready for. This is different country, this is different language, this is different culture. What I never will get it completely, of course. That was different music, that was different people, and I cannot introduce you to this life. That's impossible. Okay, many people who knows English, they are better than me, probably. I was probably not a good mother because I came without the English. But that's why I keep him always in my heart. This is the man who changed my life for 100%.
It's good. Thanks, Mom. I love you. It's true. Growing up in LA gives people an advantage. It's a global city with a culture that embraces individuality and shows you what we can accomplish together. It installs the spirit of collaboration within, waiting to be sparked. It upgrades your palate and exposes you to the best authentic cuisine from all over the world. a city that has become interlaced with the toy industry through licensing, and where my mom worked so hard to raise a good son. Happy holidays from Kid at Heart. If you like the project and want to get involved, let's chat on whatever platform you like most. Steve S at Diverse Mail is my email. See you in 2020.